Afternoon, New Orleans, or wherever you may be. It's Wednesday at 4, so we must be the Baldy and The Blonde show. I am your, unfortunately, bald co-host, Tom Coates. I'm here with my blonde co-host. Michelle, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm blonde, but I have something else on my head today.
Okay, go ahead.
I already have reindeer ears.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Not May, you do.
Sparkly red reindeer ears.
And full disclosure, buckle up. I'm not sure how this show's going to go. Let's just say that half the Baldy and the Blonde team had a little bit too much Christmas cheer at lunch. You can have two guesses, and I'll give you a hint. It wasn't me.
It wasn't Tom. I had 2 old fashions at the Christmas lunch with our office, so we'll see how it goes.
And 2 old fashions for a lightweight is a lot.
I might just drone on and on.
All right, well, that's an awkward segue, but an appropriate segue. So, as usual, I clipped some sound bites for today's show.
I mean, before we start with the sound bites, really?
What?
I mean, drones everywhere, and the government doesn't know what they are.
Well, that's what these sound bites are. I was going there.
All right,
but
let's
yes.
go. Okay.
Now, last week I got plenty of emails and some Facebook messages from Flack because I was unfamiliar with the drones. Because
I was not.
I have a dirty little secret. And this is the truth. I haven't watched TV since 1994.
I know it's true.
Except for maybe 2 shows in 30. I'm not kidding.
That's
I don't watch
why
any news. No, and actually, I don't think I've watched one TV show. I've seen like some sporting events now and then. Seriously, since July of 94, I have not watched anything.
You watched all the Saints games leading up to the Super Bowl, but that's been a while.
Well, I said I watched some sports stuff.
Yes.
And I don't watch any TV at all.
The man doesn't know Seinfeld. It's bizarre.
I know a little Seinfeld. Seinfeld was on in 94 when
Well, that is true.
Okay.
Probably your last year.
But I digress. The point is that I did see an occasional headline about some drones. I didn't care enough to click on the headline and read the story because I could tell by the headline
it was weird.
It was nonsense and garbage that was being spewed. So why would I want to read their nonsense and garbage?
Stop droning on.
Okay, so I was totally unfamiliar with it, and I was taking a task on Facebook, and so sorry. Now I've brought myself up to speed a little bit, but the deeper I dig into it, the more I realize I was right. This stuff is nonsense, garbage, or stories, preposterous.
It is preposterous.
Absolutely preposterous. And the reality is the government, or whatever you want to call that entity that spews out this nonsense,
the blob,
they know it's preposterous. They know they can tell a preposterous story.
I guess it's a test to see how much more can they sell.
I don't know
how much more can they sell us? How much more will we buy?
Maybe, but I think it's just there's something going on.
There is.
Who knows what? Who knows who's doing it? They don't want us to know, so they can just tell they can say anything they want, and that's what's happening.
They work for us.
No,
they do right. They do.
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed to. All right, take it away.
All right,
take it away, Mr. Baldy.
All right. Miss 2 old fashions.
That's me.
Okay, so the first one is the person you're going to hear is the White House National Security Communications Advisor, John Kirby.
Oh, he's a piece of work.
We got quite a few with him. Let's just see what kind of nonsense he's spewing.
Let's hear it.
Well, we just saw this accusation that the administration is not being forthright about what it knows, that it knows more than it's letting on, and I know you're here to clear it up. So,
okay, I got to stop that. I know you're here. How's that for some propaganda? I know you're here to clear it up.
It's called bolstering the witness.
Yeah, I know you're here to clear it up. Really, you know that, do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
anyway, let's proceed.
what do you know about these sightings, and perhaps more importantly, how do you know it?
We've been sharing everything that we are learning with the public.
That's me. I inserted the Charlie Brown adult, because
why not?
For the next 2 minutes, it's garbage. It's nonsense. So anyway, sorry. It makes this much sense. Sorry.
Right now, our assessment leads us to conclude that these are lawful and legal aviation activities, manned and unmanned drones and civil aviation aircraft or commercial aircraft.
Okie doke.
Okay, let me translate for you because I've had more than 30 years experience as a father and a husband, so I speak fluent bullcrap, okay? So their quote-unquote assessment led them to believe they need
leads us, yes, to believe.
Well, yeah, it led them to believe that they need to protect certain bad actors in the government or deep state or even a foreign actor or whatever. So they quote unquote concluded that everything is legal. So they assessed it one way. It looked bad for somebody that they want to protect. So what's their conclusion that they deliver to us? It's legal.
It's legal.
So that's a way of lying, but still telling technically the truth.
Well,
That's
that is what that is.
That's
It's
exactly what that
double
is.
talk. And,
Yes.
if there was a judge around, Judge, could you ask the witness to answer the question? Please answer the question, Mr. Kirby.
Oh, well, it's going to get a lot better.
I bet.
And this is
Oh,
why
I can't wait.
Okay, this is why I didn't want to dive deep into this stuff, because it's all bullcrap. Here's
Yeah.
some more bullcrap.
We spend $824 billion on defense. We have the greatest intelligent capability in the world. So how can you stand there and say to the country right now, gosh darn, we just don't know what these are?
Because I'm not going to lie.
Whoa! That's how you can tell he's lying.
That's
because he
it.
said
His
I'm
lips are
not-
moving, and he says
Yeah.
he's
Anyway,
he
let's finish that up
protests
here.
too much.
Let's see what he says here. Maybe that's all.
To you or to the American people. And I'm not going to say we know something when we don't.
Right. Sure.
I'm not going to
Okay.
lie.
All right.
Jeez. Okay. Let's see.
I mean, this guy, come on.
So-
We have a $1 zillion military.
Yeah.
He expects us to believe that.
Okay, so military's what, 830 or whatever
know.
billion, not to mention what's for the FBI and intelligence, all the state governments.
Don't forget
But you know what?
Ukraine. Maybe they
So,
could solve the problem.
I got to share this with you. So all this nonsense
Yeah.
in just these stories
Yes.
made me think of a line from Animal House.
Oh, your favorite movie?
No, it's not my favorite movie, but it's a scene where anybody who knows the movie will remember this. It's where Otter makes up a story about why Flounder's brother's car is missing, and this is Flounder and Otter.
Okay.
Will that work? Hey, that'll work better than the truth.
Will that work? Hey, that'll work better than the truth. That's what they're telling this guy. They told him to go out there and say this bull crap. He says, will that work? Hey, that'll work better than the truth.
That's it, because the truth is out there. Oh, we should have had that clip. Da-na-na-na-da-na-da-na. The truth is out there.
I don't even know what you're talking
No,
about.
you don't, because you don't
I
watch
don't.
TV.
No, I have no idea what you're talking
So
about.
it's just a very famous TV show about aliens.
Oh, okay. Well,
Not that I think that's what this is. I think they want us to think that.
Nah, nobody's talking
I don't know
that.
what it is.
No, nobody's talking.
I know it's whatever it is. It's bull. That's for sure.
All right, well, here comes more bull from John Kirby.
John Kirby again.
Again, yeah.
You're not going to want to shoot something down where it could hit somebody's house or hurt somebody.
Well, the Coast Guard
So,
says that there are 30 of them following one of their ships in the ocean. So would that work?
I mean, again, we have to develop the policy options based on what we know we're dealing with here, and we just don't know enough to make those to take those kinds of actions.
Okay, let me talk
That
about
makes
that.
no sense.
Let me talk
That
about
makes
that.
no sense what he just
That
said.
was perhaps, I thought, a rare moment of a reporter actually asking good questions. That was Martha McCallum. And she just couldn't believe because the reason she asked him that question was because he said, well, we have to be careful. We might hit someone's house. And she's like, well, the Coast Guard says there are these drones following them in the water. How about shoot them down over the water? How about that, John?
And then his response,
his response is ridiculous.
doesn't even address anything.
I mean, look,
Let alone that is
so
nonsense.
I just want to say I don't know if where this is on our agenda today, but one of the speculations about what this is all about is that the government wants to restrict our right to use drones. And that's why you keep hearing Kirby and others say, well, we just don't have enough laws.
Yeah,
so
it totally might be going this direction.
might be going in that direction.
Yeah.
See, Tom does the clips, and I'm just sitting here surprised. All right, go ahead.
All right, so let's see. No, I just mean that might be the direction they're going.
No,
don't-
I think
yes,
that is
I-
what they're trying
yeah,
to do.
I think so.
Is just like everything. Every time there's a so-called faux crisis, they're using it to get more control over us.
All right, so here's
What is that?
is that your phone?
Oh wow! What was
That's
that?
great. That's
I
one
haven't-
too
I
many old
swear-
fashions.
No, it's
Was that
really
an alarm
on,
going off or
it's
something?
really on silent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That
Oh,
was
it is.
really
Look at
silent.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, it
the
was
silent setting that makes
some
noise.
kind of
That
Christmas-
setting. Jeez.
Some kind of Christmas message. popped
Have
up.
another drink.
Ah,
Michelle.
jeez.
All
All
right.
right.
So, anyway, so that's a good example of how
Yes.
reporters need to start talking to these people.
That's
now,
right.
Here's another one. I don't
Get
this
in
is,
their face.
This is a White House. This is a Fox reporter named Jackie Heinrich. So she was at a White House briefing, and she was talking to who do you think? John Kirby.
Kirby
And
again,
this
I
is-
bet.
This is awesome how this ends. Listen to the punchline to this, because he's again spewing nonsense.
There has been no evidence of any of this activity in or near restricted spaces.
Not what the senators said in the letter. They said, in fact, that they've been observed maneuvering their critical infrastructure, sensitive locations, including reservoirs and military installations, and cited a concern from law enforcement about public safety threats because a medevac helicopter was prevented from transporting a seriously injured patient for care because of the presence of these drones.
Wow.
I stand by my opening statement.
Wait.
Can you make that make more sense?
Can you make that make more sense?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Now that is how you're supposed to talk to these fools.
Yeah.
Just enough of being, oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Government Agent. I'm just here to lap up your BS. No, get in their face.
Again, they know it's preposterous. John Kirby knows what he's spewing is. He probably lost a bet, and that's why he had to be the one to go out there.
So sorry, we have to drone on and on about the drones. We'll be back with Baldy and the Blonde in just a few minutes. Welcome back. This is Baldy and the Blonde. I am Michelle Godin, along with Tom Coates, my co-host. We are here every Wednesday at 4. You can follow us, and we wish you would, on X at Baldy Blonde. And please give us a like on YouTube and baldyandtheblonde.com. And what else? Oh, yeah, Facebook, the Baldy and Blonde radio show. So, anyway, we are droning on and on about the drones. Today, we have played you some excellent clips of the news media actually asking some skeptical questions from the poor spokesman, John Kirby.
Yeah, finally calling them on their bullcrap.
Acting like reporters used to act on everything, so.
And they seemed like they really meant it.
Right, like, well, we can't shoot these down because we can't hurt people in their houses. Well, what about when they're over the water?
Yeah, what about when there's 30 of them following a Coast Guard ship out over the ocean? What about that? And then he gave some non-response.
I mean, so what conclusion can you draw except that, hey, they want them up there? So why?
Yeah. Well,
Always, the thing of the 60s, question authority.
Sure.
Right? And ask who benefits, cui bene, who benefits. So who's benefiting from this? We'll see. We don't know yet, but I guarantee you somebody's got something up their sleeve.
All right, here's the next sound clip is one I couldn't out myself.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with drones.
Oh, boy.
What it has to do is with all of John Kirby's responses that we played. If you missed the first segment, you can go to baldyandtheblonde.com or YouTube, find the show, find that first segment, and then this clip will make sense.
All righty.
I couldn't help it. This is from the movie Billy Madison.
Oh, gee.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
That's so appropriate for everything out of John Kirby's mouth. And you wonder why I didn't want to pay attention to any of the drone stories when they were first coming out, because I didn't care to read their bullcrap, but now it's kind of fun.
It is ridiculous, and that is the perfect quote. In fact, every time John Kirby talks, I think we should have this playing in the background in the future.
I can do that.
Just as a little on a loop. Every time the man opens his mouth, because you can.
What did you learn recently? I can do what?
Anything. That's what you said.
It is true. That's
what you said.
I don't know. Give it enough time.
You can.
On a long enough timeline, an infinite amount of Baldys can do something.
Something or anything.
All right. What's the next one? Okay. So now switching gears. This is a congressman I've never heard of. His name is Michael McCall. He's a Republican congressman from Texas. Now he's going to give us a different take. Let's see.
Well, there's a lot of takes. There's a lot of takes from a lot of politicians.
This is one. Yeah, and they're all different story.
All different.
Now, full disclosure on this
China,
one.
it's Russia, it's Ukraine, it's somebody.
He's a very slow talker, and he hemmed and hawed a lot. So I sped it up, and I clipped it out to make it a little bit more palatable and understandable. However, this is where it gets a little bit weird. He hemmed and hawed so much, and he was looking down during the whole time like he was reading from some notes that somebody is given. I'm not saying that's the case. It sure looked like it on video. Like he's reading his notes, and if it's his heartfelt thoughts that are his, he shouldn't have been doing that. No. But it looked like he was reading from notes. Anyway, here's what he had to say.
Congress is going to pursue this. I know the House Intelligence Committee is having a hearing on this. We need to identify who is behind these drones. My judgment, based on my experience, is that those that are over on military sites are adversarial and most likely are coming from the People's Republic of China.
Do you think you'll be satisfied with what you hear today?
Probably not. I think they're going to say that they don't know. And that's a concern in and of itself, that if we have drones flying around military bases and we can't identify where they came from or who's responsible.
So here's some hidden propaganda. You notice he says, I don't think that they'll be forthcoming, right? I don't think I'm going to be satisfied.
Right.
And he says, I think they're going to say they don't know. And that's disturbing that we don't know. He didn't even say that's disturbing that they would lie to me that they don't know.
Yeah.
He didn't even entertain that.
No, because they should know by now. I mean,
Of course.
They know that
please.
there's lies coming out of lies on top of lies from our government who purports to work for us.
All right, here's yet another take. This one makes a little bit more sense. You might recognize this guy's voice. Let's see what he has to say.
The government knows what is happening. Our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows.
So interestingly, Trump was president before, so he probably has a lot of information on what's going on, even though he wisely is not taking their briefings, I think. He may be now.
Well, so the reporter followed up with a question, are you being briefed on this? And he said, I'd rather not comment.
Okay, so
we don't
that's
know.
wise.
Yeah.
But, he knows enough to know. And when he says they can go into the garage, I mean, we all remember way back in the wars in Iraq, constantly harping on the fact that we had missiles that could literally fly through a window of a building. Not just the building, but the window where the bad guys were. So, of course, we all know that, they know what's going on, so why won't they say so?
Well, that's just it.
And that's what everybody has to think about
probably
is
never
why.
know that. Yep. Yeah, the why
What is the point
very
of
important.
this?
Okay, so that Trump's take was the most sensible we've heard so far.
Totally.
By far. But the most sensible reaction to all of this drone stuff I'm about to play. This is New Jersey Assembly Republican Whip Brian Bergman. He's a former Army Apache helicopter pilot. He's a former helicopter.
I say.
Yeah, pilot.
Pilot.
Sounds like I've had the old
Missing
fashions.
words.
Anyway,
Might
so
maybe slip something in your drink.
He went to a Homeland Security briefing in New Jersey.
Yep.
He drove 2 hours to get there, sat in it for an hour, and then had a 2-hour drive home. So 5 hours he invested. Let's see what he has to say about that Homeland Security briefing and what he did.
You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there.
Beautiful response.
Beautiful.
Walk out on them.
Just walk out on them, because if they're telling you they don't know I don't believe anything, but if you just take their story at its face value, we don't know we don't know what they are. We don't know where they're coming from. But hey, don't worry, it's all safe. Now, that's just absurd on its face. So his reaction, especially knowing he is a former Army Apache helicopter pilot, is just perfect.
It is perfect.
That's how we all have to start acting to this out of control, insane, disrespectful government.
All right, I have one more. This is not a sound clip. This is a little quote from an article. I'm going to read you this line, and you're going to love it. I want your reaction.
All right.
This is from Pentagon's press secretary, Pat Ryder, and it's a news article from the AP. It says, Ryder said that while military bases overseas can use surveillance methods that quickly address the origins of drones, that power is limited in U.S. airspace because of domestic surveillance laws.
Oh, here we go. I told
So
you.
We can't.
We can't. We need more laws to survey. Like, in other words, the implication is we need more
surveillance
authority
power.
and more surveillance power. And it's this pesky little Constitution again getting in the way of the truly authoritarian government.
The other side of that is they ignore their surveillance laws all the time. So there's that they could ignore this time. And the other one is what you just said. They'll be fishing for more surveillance.
That's it.
laws.
Watch it.
We
watch
need
for
more
it.
power. Only then could we figure out where these drones are coming from and where they go home every night. Yeah, come on, man.
That's it.
Anyway.
All right, this is Baldy and the Blonde. We will be back shortly. Check us out at baldyandtheblonde.com and follow us at Baldy Blonde on X. Welcome back. This is Baldy and the Blonde. I'm Michelle Godin along with Tom Kowitz. We are here every Wednesday at 4. WGSO 990 AM. BaldyandTheBlonde.com. We post every show there without commercials. So it's about, what, Tom, 40 minutes? 42?
Yep, something like that.
Something like that. And we've been back on the air since October after a 10-year absence or so. And we are today, we've spent a lot of time droning on about the drones, and Tom came up with some excellent clips. If you missed it, go back and listen at baldyandtheblonde.com. But next we're going to switch over to the discussion of artificial intelligence, also known as AI. So I happened to come across a podcast that many of you may have heard with a gentleman named Mark Andreessen, who is a huge tech guy. He invented Oculus and he was one of the founders of Netscape, billionaire from the big tech community out west, a former Democrat, another one, who had to flee the Democrat Party because of something we discussed at length last week, debanking, where various tech people, 30 huge tech people were debanked, where they no longer had a place to put their money. And actually, in one of the interviews I heard with him, they asked him, well, what did they do when they took away your friend's banks? He said, it's like, well, put the money under your mattress. I mean, what can you do, right? So the government was after tech people. For some reason, the Biden administration was very anti tech and anti-cryptocurrency. So anyway, he was talking about AI, and I thought possibly one of the most kind of chilling discussions I've heard. And he compared it to when the government knew all about the atom bomb. And not the atom bomb. Anyway, so the math for AI, he said, that he went to a meeting in May with the Biden administration, and he, along with a lot of other tech people, were there to discuss how they were going to use AI. And the government told them, and what is very bizarre and chilling, just stay out of it because we are going to control it. And there's only going to be 2 or 3 companies that the government controls. Now think about this. And so you might as well just stay out of it, because then if whoever controls AI controls the world. Because right now you can look up, let's say, whatever, the cure to eczema, and you can find a million different articles. But if the government controls AI and it's a more controversial topic like COVID or something else, they will filter what you can see. So I thought it was just really scary. And he said that they had talked about how in the past the government had buried information that to this day they did not let the public know about. And he's like, but the math is already out there on AI. Don't worry, we're going to bury it. I mean, it is creepy. It was really creepy.
So we are going to play his soundbite. Unfortunately, that the quality is not that great on that one. So that's why Michelle wanted to give you a little bit more detail so you could listen for this stuff. But he did say entire branches of physics, quote, went dark during the Cold War.
That's it.
The government quashed it. They did not allow it to be taught. You're going to hear him talk about that.
Like knowledge that was out there has been buried, gone.
So another important part of the story in Mark Andreessen's background, he's a venture capitalist.
Yes.
And they were basically telling him, don't bother funding startups in AI because the reasons Michelle just mentioned. Anyway, so let's listen to what he has to say.
We had meetings in D.C. in May where we talked to them about this, and the meetings were absolutely horrifying. They said, look, AI is the technology basically that the government is going to completely control. And they actually said flat out to us, don't fund AI startups. It's not something that we're going to allow to happen. They're not going to be allowed to exist. There's no point. They basically said AI is going to be a game of 2 or 3 big companies working closely with the government. We're going to protect them from competition. We're going to control them. We're going to dictate what they do. I said, I don't understand how you're going to lock this down so much because, like, the math for, AI is, like, out there and it's being taught everywhere. And, they literally said, well, during the Cold War, we classified entire areas of physics and took them out of the research community. And, like, entire branches of physics basically went dark.
Imagine.
Yeah, they classified branches of physics. They'll just make this classified because their attitude is they own everything. Everything is the government's.
And he said, and this is a guy who was a lifelong Democrat.
Oh, yeah, right.
I mean, voted for every Democrat until this last election in 2024.
Switched to Trump.
He walked out in May, and he and his business partner looked at each other like, that's it. We have to vote for Trump. And that's why, because of what he called the soft. He goes on and talks beyond just this topic. And you can just look him up, Mark Andreessen, Andreesen, and, talks about the soft authoritarian tyranny.
Not so soft.
No, I don't think it's that soft either, but that we've been living under. And, I thought and again, it was hard to understand everything he said, but clearly he's saying that the government said, oh, yeah, we're going to bury AI just like we did many branches of physics during the Cold War. So obviously, what else is there out there that they buried that we don't know? And I imagine the people who had retained memory of the buried physics probably were branded as kooks, I guess.
Oh, of course.
And conspiracy theorists and nut jobs and whatever the CIA comes up with to brand people who retain the knowledge of our advanced civilization. So they are literally talking about owning AI through controlled branches of government. And you can right now go on AI, and I mean, I find that if I ask it a question, sometimes I'm testing it, and it'll almost always give me sort of a left-leaning answer. And then I'll say to it, I don't want you to give me a political sway. I want it straight up. And they'll give me a different answer. And then I'll say, give it to me from the right, give it to me from the left. So imagine, though, that now all of that is gone, and the government has done what they did. Like, for example, when Google was asked, give us Google's AI, give us a picture of George Washington. Well, he was black.
Wow.
Remember that?
No,
that was
I
very
don't.
weird. Every single historical character, they turned him into an African American. It was bizarre.
Huh.
And, if they have control over everything, you can imagine in the future, what was COVID? You'll never hear about people who had dissenting views of anything.
Yeah,
You'll
right.
only hear the government's viewpoint. And I'm just really curious after listening to Andreessen's comments about the Cold War, what did they bury? And I mean, he didn't give any hints. I don't know. I certainly don't know physics. So
I have to admit, this was a 2-hour interview.
It was,
and
yeah.
I didn't listen to anywhere near that much. So he might have addressed things in detail, and I don't know.
And so if anybody wants to find him, he's off the top of my head, I definitely saw him on Joe Rogan, and that was over 2 hours. And I believe the other one was Tucker Carlson.
Well, the one we
But I'm
just
not
played
positive.
was Barry Weiss.
Okay, that's right. Barry Weiss, who, by the way, another former Democrat, maybe still a Democrat, who had to leave the New York Times because they just went too woke even for her. So, and she was I believe, a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter. So
I didn't know she left there.
yeah, she did.
Oh.
Yeah, she left during the whole. If you remember, Tom Cotton, a senator, wrote an op-ed. I can't even remember what it was about. It was, I don't know. It seemed innocuous to me, but it caused heads to roll at the New York Times. And I think around that time she thought, yeah, I got to get out of here.
Time to go. All right, I got a couple more sound bites. We're gonna
Okay.
switch. I want to switch gears. So remember, was it last show? A couple shows ago?
Yeah.
I played some clips with some disguised voices and
Oh,
made
yes.
you guess who they were. And you did pretty well. I think you got about 3 out of 4. I think
I
you
did
got 3 out of
okay,
4.
I thought.
Okay, so I'm going to play the mystery guest here regarding
dun,
corruption in government.
Mm.
Okay, here's the mystery speaker, and I put it through a Trump filter.
Okay.
Now,
so the person's
that-
going to sound like Trump?
It's going to sound like Trump, but
All right.
but
it's not.
But I didn't say that. I was just going to say I'm tricky, and I might have put Trump through a Trump filter.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but I'm thank you for that. But the system does produce corruption. I think implicit in the system is corruption, when in fact, whether or not you can run for public office, you have to go to those people who have money, and they always want something.
Well, I have to admit, I have just no idea.
Do you think it was Trump?
I do not think it was Trump.
All right. Do you want to guess who said? He started out with, "You shouldn't assume I'm not corrupt." Right? He said that, and
Yeah.
then he basically said, "If you want to get anything
wait.
done, you have to answer the people who give you money, and the system really didn't say inherently corrupt, but
You know
that's
what?
he
I
was getting
actually
at.
saw this. Was it the mayor of Chicago?
Well, you want me to play him in his real voice?
Yes.
Do you think you would recognize the voice of the mayor of Chicago?
No.
Well, I wouldn't pick that one then.
That's right. Let's hear it.
I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but thank you for that, though. The system does produce corruption. I think implicit in the system is corruption, when in fact, whether or not you can run for public office, you have to go to those people who have money, and they always want something.
That's a young Joe Biden, 29 years old.
I saw
New
it.
in the Senate.
I saw it.
Basically said that don't assume I'm
Don't
not
assume
corrupt.
I'm not
and he did
corrupt.
say corruption is implicit in the system.
That's right.
Now he doesn't even know what implicit means.
No, he doesn't know who he is or
But he
where
does,
he
he
is.
does know
But
a
he
thing or
is the
two-
president.
And he knows a thing or
God
two about
forbid.
corruption. That one he's got.
Yeah, that one's good at.
So when we come back, I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but I hope you have some notes.
I have some ideas.
All right, go make us some old fashions.
There you go. All right, we're Baldy and the Blonde at baldyandtheblonde.com on X, baldyandtheblonde.com, and the Baldy and the Blonde radio show on Facebook. Follow us, please. Give us a like, and join our radio group on Facebook, and send us emails and tell us what you want to hear.
And when you do go watch our videos on YouTube, which that's how you get to the YouTube videos through our website, just like the video. Just click the like button.
It's so easy. Just
Anyway,
a little thumbs up.
See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Baldy and the Blonde Show. I'm Tom Coates with the blonde co-host, Michelle Godian.
That's me.
That's you. How are you doing after those two old fashions?
I
Are you
needed
doing
another
a little bit
one.
better?
Really, it's starting
What?
to, it's
I've
starting
never
to wear
seen you.
off.
I've never seen you go this long without an old fashioned. It's been hours. I don't understand.
It was at Mandiner's.
It was at Mandiner's.
Really good. We had a nice little office lunch today for Christmas.
Mandiner's
Speaking of Christmas.
always delivers the goods.
Always. Yeah, better right now just say that our show for the next 2 weeks lands on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So we're just going to pick a couple of previous shows and rerun them because
they told us we had to.
That's
said, why.
We were like, wait, we can't come in on Christmas
please?
Day?
Come on, man.
Please. No way.
So we don't know what will
We'll
air,
pick a-
but it'll be something from the last couple months.
Yeah, because that's all we've been on.
That's all we've been on.
Couple of
well,
months.
because we lost our entire library from 12.
Oh,
we had, I don't know, we did a few
I'm
hundred
going to
shows.
find them. They're somewhere. Yeah. There's some really good shows. But anyway, they're gone for the moment. That's when we used to interview people like Ron Paul, Judge Napolitano, Rand Paul, lots and lots of...
Oh, Pat Buchanan.
Pat Buchanan.
Yeah.
Proud of that one.
How did we get all
I
those
don't know.
guys?
Jeez. I don't know.
Well, you know,
It's
speaking
weird.
of Ron Paul, that's actually a good
segue.
We really weren't even going to go in that direction. We got a few minutes.
Yep.
And so Ron Paul is now being consulted by the Doge team.
That would be Elon and Vivek.
And I don't know how old he is now, but he's 91
He's 90
or
something,
Yeah,
for
91, 92. And his ideas are timeless. So
He's
as
my
he
hero
seems
and
to be.
yours. So
The stuff that we're seeing now in Doge and all this talk about spending, it all started with him.
It did.
And the backstory to that is it was August 15th, 1971. I can even tell you the exact date that he decided he needed to run for Congress because that's the day. It was a Sunday night. Nixon went on TV, essentially just closed the gold window to foreign central banks. And Ron Paul, he knew what that meant because he understands economics very well. He's an OBGYN professionally, but he really understands economics.
yes, he does.
And he knew that if there's no more connection between the dollar and gold, that they would just print untold amounts of gold. And that's why you saw that huge inflation of the 70s. So gold that went from 35 in the early 70s to 850 or something by the end of the decade.
Can I tell that short story that explains the gold and the dollar real quick?
Go ahead and yeah.
No, man, I just think it's a great.
If you can.
I learned it from you.
I
so.
know. If you can
All
tell
right.
it without
so
butchering it, go.
let's have us in a time machine. It is 1910. Tom and I are in the French Quarter. Tom has a $20 bill. I have a $20 gold coin, which is 1 ounce of gold. Okay? We can go out in the French Quarter and literally buy the same thing. Tom's $20 bill buys the same thing as my $20 gold coin. He could have gone to the bank and traded in his $20 bill for the $20 gold coin. Fast forward to now. Tom's has the $20 bill. I still have the $20 gold coin. My coin is worth almost $3,000.
Right. Yep.
And Tom's got a $20 bill.
$20 bill.
And that's what they've done to your money.
Yep.
And that's such a great little illustration that they should teach everyone in school, but they don't want you to know. What they've done is print money, and every time they do that, they devalue your dollar. And oh, look, the stock market's at 40,000. Well, that's because they printed so much money that the
Got to
dollar
go somewhere.
It's like Zimbabwe. I mean, or Germany after World War II, where you needed you needed a wheelbarrow to buy of Deutschmarks to buy a loaf of bread. So,
well, what's really encouraging here is that this sort of thing is now in the mainstream conversation.
Yeah,
it hasn't really ever been. It's always been fringe or non-existent.
It's true.
And nothing is going to happen until it becomes part of the mainstream. You've heard me say I'm not pessimistic about Doge, but I'm also not optimistic. I'm hopeful.
I'm a little optimistic.
Because they don't have any authority. They can only make recommendations, but they're talking to the right people. If you have Ron Paul in the room, you're talking to the right people.
And they're respectful to him.
And Thomas Massey just joined that as well.
Yes, he did. He's the greatest congressman.
Unlike,
I'm sorry to say, our boy, the Speaker of the House from Louisiana. But from what I see, I don't know if it's true, but looking at my phone, it appears that the bill that he wanted to pass, 1,500 pages, which nobody's even had a chance to read, that they wanted to pass tomorrow, which apparently has yet more zillions of dollars for Ukraine and God only knows what else. Apparently it's in trouble, which gives me great hope that maybe we are serious about stopping the endless wars and the endless spending, and that unlike Trump's last election, this time it looks much more serious, like we're going to get to a place where we are seriously addressing our terrible financial situation and the endless wars, which are very closely related.
Well, sure, absolutely. And it does look like Trump has changed fiscally, financially,
Totally.
because his first go-around, the U.S. government spent a lot of money. It was massive deficits under his first administration. This time, if he hasn't sincerely changed his mind, why does he have Ron Paul and Massey and Musk and Vivek on board looking for ways to piece this back together?
Yeah.
To some sanity.
It's a very optimistic time. To me, it's a great time to be an American. This is the first time I've ever seen so much effort to actually address our real problems, like from the terrible food that we're eating. Our kids are eating Fruit Loops that have carcinogens that would never be allowed in Europe. If you go to Europe and drink a Fanta, for example, it is 10% fruit juice, and it has, their food is totally different than ours, and they're not fat. And there's a reason why our people are unhealthy and fat, and we're like number 40 in the world in health, despite spending way more than anyone else on health care. So the Robert F. Kennedy has spent his whole life, working against the pharmaceuticals and the agribusinesses that have polluted our country and made our health so precarious. So it's a great time. We're coming up on Christmas. We have a lot to be grateful for. And I think, I'm super stoked about the direction we're headed in.
Well, it is interesting times. Well, and interesting can also be bad. This is interesting, good, potentially.
Hopefully.
Again, because of what's now entered into the mainstream conversation. Because when Ron Paul was running, he ran in 88. He ran in 2008 and 2012.
I was a delegate for him.
And his,
yep.
Right.
I was in 2012.
So
he was a Republican but libertarian. So. Yeah.
And a lot of his message was "End the Fed." He even wrote a book called
"End the Fed."
Yeah. And that was so fringe back then, and I'm all for it. We'll do a conversation about that down the road at some point. But it's all about ending the Federal Reserve because it is the cause of all of our evils. It really is.
Without a doubt.
And we'll go into that at some point. It's a long, long story that we can't possibly tell in a couple of minutes. But the point is that this is in the mainstream conversation.
Yes, it is. And it's excellent. And it's, it gives us great hope for our new year. And since we're not going to be here, we're going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And we look forward to coming back in the new year. And we have great hopes for what can happen in our new year. And it looks like we're headed in a very optimistic and hopeful direction.
Well, definitely an improved direction.
Absolutely. And, just the freedom, too, that just to know that we're not going to have this obsessive, insane FBI chasing around normal Americans. It's great. So, anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. We are Baldy and the Blonde, baldyandtheblonde.com, @BaldyBlonde, and we will see you all next year.